The human supply ship landed on the dry alien world with a low hum, sending dust into the air. Daniel, a widowed father and simple technician, stepped out, holding a small box of tools. He came to this colony only to fix machines and return home. But on this day, something unusual pulled his attention before he even reached the main building. Not far from the landing area, a group of aliens stood in a circle. They were silent, their long faces fixed on something on the ground. Daniel walked closer, unsure if he should interfere. But then he saw it, and his heart tightened. In the center of the circle, an alien girl was buried up to her neck. Only her head was above the soil. Her skin was pale with fear, and her breathing was fast. Daniel froze for a moment. He had seen strange alien customs before, but nothing like this. One of the guards noticed Daniel and stepped in front of him. "Human, do not come closer," the guard said in a cold voice. "This is our old tradition. Do not question it." Daniel did not respond at first. He only looked at the girl again. She could not move. Her eyes were wide, and tears had dried on her cheeks. She seemed young, maybe the same age as his son back home. Daniel's memories struck him hard. He remembered the day he had lost his wife. He remembered how helpless he had felt. Seeing helplessness again, he could not walk away. "What did she do?" Daniel asked softly. The guard answered without emotion. "She is unfit for our colony's future. This is her trial. If she survives the day, she may return. If not, nature decides." Daniel felt something cold move through his chest. "She is a person," he said. "She is a living person." The guard stepped closer. "This is not your concern, human. This is our way." But Daniel did not step back. He took one more look at the girl, and she met his eyes. Her voice was weak, almost a whisper. "Please, I do not want to die," she said. Her voice shook, and Daniel felt something break inside him. The guards raised their hands in warning, but Daniel ignored them. He walked past them, slowly but firmly, like a man who had already made a decision. The aliens did not expect this. No one had ever broken their tradition. No one had ever dared. Daniel kneeled beside the girl. "My name is Daniel. I'm going to help you," he said. The girl could not nod, but her eyes showed relief. Daniel dug his hands into the soil. "Stop!" a guard shouted, but Daniel did not stop. He kept digging. The soil was heavy and packed tight, but he kept pulling it away, handful after handful. The aliens watched in silence, shocked, confused, and unsure what to do. Their old laws had never prepared them for a human with a stubborn heart. Finally, Daniel freed the girl's shoulders, then her arms. She gasped for air as she pulled herself upward, but she was weak. She leaned forward, and Daniel caught her before she fell. The alien stepped back as Daniel lifted her fully out of the ground. The girl fainted in his arms. Daniel stood quietly, holding her carefully, as if she were made of glass. "You broke our law," the guard whispered. Daniel looked at him with tired eyes. "Then your law is wrong," he replied. He carried the girl toward his ship. The aliens did not stop him. They only watched, stunned. They had never seen a human defy their ancient custom. They had never seen anyone lift a condemned girl and walk away. That day, something changed in the colony. Something small, like the first crack in a giant wall. And it all began with a human father who refused to leave someone helpless. Asterisk, the human ship's engines hummed quietly as Daniel carried the alien girl inside, her small body trembling against his chest. He laid her gently on a soft blanket, careful not to hurt her. She was still unconscious, but her chest rose and fell with each breath. Daniel looked around his ship. Tools, wires, and parts were scattered everywhere. But none of that mattered now. All that mattered was keeping her alive. Outside, the alien colony was in chaos. The guards ran to the council chambers, their long faces twisted in shock and anger. No one had ever interfered with their traditions before, let alone a human. The news spread quickly. A human has saved the condemned girl. Back on the ship, the girl stirred. Her eyes slowly opened, wide and confused. "Where am I?" she whispered. Daniel knelt beside her and smiled gently. "You're safe." "Now," he said, "my name is Daniel. I will not let anyone hurt you." She looked around, her eyes still filled with fear. I was buried," she stammered. Daniel nodded. "I know. But it is over. You are free now." She tried to sit up, but her body was weak from being trapped in the ground. Daniel held her carefully, supporting her. "You don't need to move yet," he said. "Rest first. You have been through a lot." Meanwhile, the council convened. In anger, the human broke our sacred law. An elder said, "We must act quickly. He cannot be allowed to interfere again." Another elder added, "This girl's survival is our responsibility. If we allow him to keep her, all our traditions will collapse." Back on the ship, the girl finally spoke her name, softly, "Leary." Daniel smiled. "Well, Leary, we have work to do to keep you safe," he said. She nodded, but still shivered from fear. Daniel inspected her carefully. She had no wounds, only exhaustion and fear. "I will feed you, clean you, and keep you warm," he said. "You are not alone anymore." The aliens outside debated sending guards to the ship, but many hesitated. The human had done the impossible. No one had ever challenged the law and survived. Some younger aliens even whispered to each other, "Perhaps the human is different. Perhaps he is brave." On the ship, Daniel prepared a small meal. Leary had never eaten human food before, but hunger made her take it slowly. Daniel watched her carefully. She must regain strength. He thought, she must be able to stand on her own soon. As the sun began to set over the alien desert, Daniel realized the colony might try to reclaim Leary. He could feel their eyes on the ship from a distance, but he did not fear them. He had saved her once, and he would protect her again if needed. For Daniel, there was no law higher than saving a life. Leary looked at him, eyes wide with gratitude and confusion. You risked everything," she whispered. Daniel shrugged. "I could not let them leave you buried. I would have done the same for anyone." The night grew darker, and the stars above the alien world shone brightly. Inside the ship, Daniel and Leary sat in silence, both knowing this was only the beginning. The colony might hate him, the elders might plan revenge, but at this moment, they were safe. And that small safety was worth more than anything else in the universe. Something had changed in the colony. Unseen but powerful, a single act of courage had begun to break centuries of blind tradition. And Daniel knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, but he also knew he would never leave Leary behind. For she had been buried once, and now she would rise under his protection. The next morning, the sun rose red over the alien colony, casting long shadows across the desert inside Daniel's ship. Leary sat up slowly. Still weak from her time buried, her eyes scanned the strange interior, curious and nervous. Daniel handed her a small cup of warm liquid. "It will help you regain strength," he said. She drank carefully, nodding. I do not understand why you helped me," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Because you are alive." "That is reason enough," he replied. Meanwhile, back in the colony, the elders were furious. How could a human defy our law? One of them growled, "He is dangerous." Another said, "They do not understand our traditions. If others follow him, all our customs will be broken." A younger alien guard listened silently. Uncertain but intrigued, He had seen the human lift Leary from the ground with ease and care, and something inside him stirred, a feeling he had never felt before. Respect. For a human, Daniel knew he could not keep Leary forever hidden. The colony would search for her, and if they found her first, she might be forced back into the old trials. He needed to understand her condition, and quickly he activated a small medical scanner from his supplies. The device beeped softly as it scanned Leary's body. Numbers and colors appeared on the screen. Daniel frowned. This explains a lot, he muttered. Leary tilted her head. Explain what? She asked. Daniel looked at her gently. You are unique. Your body is different from other girls in your colony. That is why they buried you. But it is not dangerous. You are fine, he explained. Leary's eyes widened in surprise. They buried me. For nothing. She whispered. Daniel nodded. It seems your colony's old science made a mistake. They believed you could not survive the future, but it is not true, he said. Her lips trembled, and she blinked back tears. No one told me this, she said softly. Daniel shook his head. Traditions are blind sometimes. They follow rules without questioning. But today, we can change that. Suddenly, a small alert beeped from the ship's communication console. The Alien Council was contacting him. We know you have the girl. Return her immediately, human, a voice demanded. Daniel frowned. I cannot do that, he replied calmly. She is safe here. She is alive. She deserves a chance to live freely. The voice hissed in anger. Your defiance is dangerous. You will be punished. Daniel stood tall, perhaps. But I will not leave her to be buried again. Leary looked at him, fear mixed with hope in her eyes. You will fight for me, she asked. Daniel nodded. Yes, I do not care what. They say you are not just a number or a law. You are a person. As the day went on, Daniel examined Leary more closely. He found she had knowledge about colony machines and systems, something the elders never valued. Wait, you can repair. They're energy cores. He asked, surprised. She nodded weakly. Yes. I was trained to understand machines. They thought I could only be used for the future, but I can help now. Daniel smiled faintly. This changes everything, he said, and it did. Because now, Daniel and Leary were not just two lives against tradition. They were a force that could challenge centuries of blind laws. And the colony had no idea what was coming, for the girl they had buried was not weak. She was smart. She was alive, and she had a human who would fight for her. Asterisk, the alien sun hung low in the sky, casting long orange shadows across the colony. Inside his ship, Daniel watched Leary carefully, still weak but beginning to regain her strength. Her eyes were alert now, and she followed his every movement with quiet curiosity. She had not said much since yesterday, but Daniel could see determination growing inside her. Meanwhile, word of Daniel's defiance spread fast through the colony. The elders gathered in their council chamber, their faces grim. He broke our sacred law. One elder said, no human has ever dared to interfere with our tradition. Another added, they must be stopped before more follow his example. But not all the aliens agreed. A few younger guards whispered among themselves, this human. He has courage, one said quietly. He saved a life, not because he was told to, but because he cared. Their words spread like fire through the colony, unseen by the elders. A small spark of doubt had been planted. Back on the ship, Daniel began checking Leary's knowledge of the colony's machines. He had heard rumors that the energy cores powering the colony's shield and water systems were failing. Can you help me understand this? He asked. Leary nodded, her voice soft but confident. Yes, I know how the cores work. I have studied them before. Daniel leaned over the schematics, his eyes narrowing. "The elders do not value your knowledge because of old rules," he said. Leary nodded slowly. "They only care about the law." "They do not see what I can do," she replied. Daniel smiled faintly. "Then we will show them," he said, "and maybe we can save the colony while we are at it, outside the ship." Some alien guards began noticing unusual activity. Lights. From the ship flickered as Daniel and Leary tested power modules. A young guard named Kiro watched from a distance. He had never admired a human before, but now he saw someone willing to risk everything for the life of another, and he could not. "Look away inside the ship." Daniel handed Leary a tool. "Adjust this coil," he instructed. She did it carefully, her fingers precise. The energy core responded immediately. "Good work," Daniel said. "You fixed part of it already." Leary's eyes lit up, a small smile forming for the first time. I can do more," she said. "Then we will," Daniel replied. "Let's make sure the colony survives this storm." The elders outside were growing impatient. They could sense the human defiance from across the desert. "We cannot allow him to continue," one elder hissed. "He must be removed." And the girl returned to the ground. But as they debated, the young guard Kiro spoke up. "Maybe he is right. Maybe we should see the results first." The elders frowned. "This is dangerous." "You question the law?" they asked. Kiro nodded silently, conflicted but brave, back on the ship. The storm that had been approaching the colony finally hit. Strong winds swept across the desert, damaging some of the colony's machines. Daniel and Leary worked quickly together, repairing wires and stabilizing the cores. The lights in the colony flickered back to life as the shields held strong. Aliens watching from a distance gasped in amazement. No one expected a human and a girl once condemned to save the colony when the storm ended. Daniel stood with Leary beside the repaired machinery. The colony was intact, its systems stable. He looked at her and nodded. "We did it," he said. Leary smiled faintly, proud for the first time since being buried, and somewhere in the council chambers. The elders realized that their traditions could be challenged by courage, by knowledge, and by a human who refused to follow blind rules. That day, Daniel and Leary became a symbol of hope, of change, and of the truth that even the oldest traditions could be broken for the right reason. The sky above the alien colony turned dark, heavy clouds rolling in from the horizon. A storm unlike any in living memory was coming. Daniel watched from the ship, his hands tight around the control panel. He knew the colony's shields were old and unstable. If they failed, the entire settlement could be destroyed. Leary stood beside him, her eyes sharp and focused. "Daniel, we must act fast," she said. "The cores are failing. If we do not stabilize them, the storm will tear everything apart." Daniel nodded. "Then, let's get to work," he replied. Time was short, and every second mattered. Outside, the winds began to whip across the desert, carrying dust and sand. Like flying blades, Daniel and Leary rushed to the energy core room, navigating the narrow corridors of the colony's towers. The machines groaned and sparked under the stress. Leary inspected the main console, her hands moving over the buttons and levers with practiced precision. "They are overheating," she said. "If we do not redirect the energy, the shields will collapse." Daniel grabbed a heavy tool and climbed to the top of a power tower. The wind threatened to push him off balance, but he held on tight. He could see parts of the colony struggling against the storm. Aliens ran to protect what they could, but the machines were failing too quickly. Daniel worked fast, connecting wires and rerouting energy. Each movement had to be exact, or the entire system would fail. Meanwhile, Leary stayed in the control room, guiding him remotely. "Turn the valve slowly, Daniel." "Yes, that's perfect," she instructed. Her voice was calm, steady. A contrast to the chaos around them, Daniel adjusted the valve as she guided him. sweat running down his face. The storm roared louder, pushing the towers and shaking the ground. But slowly, the shields began to stabilize. In the colony, the younger aliens watched in awe. They had never seen a human act with such courage and determination. Even the elders began to notice. Though they refused to admit it, the boy named Kiro whispered to his companion, "This human. He might actually save us." The word spread quietly, giving hope to those who doubted the old traditions. Back on the tower, Daniel reached the final connector. His hands numbed from cold and exhaustion. He attached it carefully, and a surge of energy ran through the system. The machines whirred louder as the shields fully activated. The storm still raged, but the colony was protected. Daniel climbed down, shaking from relief. Leary met him at the bottom, smiling faintly. "You did it," she said. "No," Daniel replied. "We did it." Together, the elders could not ignore it any longer. The colony had survived. Not because of law or tradition, but because of courage, knowledge, and teamwork. Their eyes slowly opened to a new truth. A human and a young alien girl had saved them all, and the colony's blind adherence to old customs began to crack. That night, as the storm subsided, Daniel and Leary stood outside, looking over the desert. The air smelled of wet sand and electricity. The stars appeared one by one above. The colony, for the first time in years, hope shone brighter than fear. Leary turned to Daniel, her voice soft but firm. Maybe things can change here." Daniel nodded, looking at the sleeping colony below. "Yes. Change begins with one choice, one act of courage." The elders would argue, and the tradition would not disappear overnight. But the story of Daniel and Leary's bravery spread through the colony. A reminder that life, courage, and kindness mattered more than rules. And the young girl who had been buried was now standing tall. Her mind sharp, her spirit alive, and for the first time, the colony began to see that the future could be long. To those who were brave enough to fight for it, the storm had passed, leaving the desert silent and still. Daniel and Leary walked carefully through the colony, the sand crunching under their boots. She pointed to a cracked wall near one of the older towers. "I think something is hidden behind there," she said. Daniel raised an eyebrow, curiosity mixing with caution. "A hidden chamber?" he asked. Leary nodded, her eyes bright with excitement and fear. "Old records. Secrets. They never wanted anyone to see," she whispered. Daniel pushed the cracked wall gently, but it would not move. He examined the edges and noticed strange symbols carved into the stone. Leary leaned closer, tracing them with her fingers. "They are warnings." "Or instructions," she said. Daniel frowned. "Then we need to follow them," he replied. Together, they pressed the symbols in the right order, and the wall slowly shifted. A hidden doorway appeared. Dark and silent. Inside, the chamber was filled with dust and old machinery. Ancient lights flickered weakly, revealing rows of data crystals stacked neatly. Leary gasped softly. These are the old records," she said. Daniel stepped in carefully, brushing dust from the consoles. The air smelled of metal and old energy. "This is incredible," he muttered. "You can read them?" he asked Leary. She nodded, her hands shaking as she lifted one of the crystals. "Yes, I can." The records told a story long forgotten. They revealed that the genetic issue the elders used to condemn girls like Leary was a mistake. Old scientists had miscalculated. Their research had been flawed, but the elders had continued the tradition for centuries without questioning. Leary's eyes widened. They buried me because of an error," she whispered. Daniel shook his head slowly. "Yes. But now we know the truth," he said, "and we can change it." Suddenly, the floor trembled slightly, reminding them that the colony outside still depended on these machines. Daniel pointed to the panels. "We need to understand these cores too." If we repair them properly, the colony will survive without blind rules controlling everything," he said. Leary nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "I can help," she said. Together, they began decoding the old data. Symbols, numbers, and schematics revealed the truth about the colony's past. Outside, the colony was uneasy, sensing unusual energy readings from the hidden tower. The elders whispered nervously, "They are tampering with forbidden knowledge." One said. Another elder frowned. "If the human exposes the records, our traditions will collapse." A young guard, Kiro, watched secretly. He felt a strange hope, for maybe the human and the girl could show the elders that courage and knowledge were stronger than blind obedience. Inside the chamber, Leary finally understood the full truth. "The problem? It is not with me," she said, her voice steady. "It is with the old laws." With the mistakes that no one corrected, Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's fix it," he said. Together, they began preparing to share the records. With the colony, it would be dangerous. No one knew how the elders would react. But the truth had to be known. As they worked, a soft glow filled the chamber. Illuminating their determined faces, Daniel glanced at Leary. "You are stronger than they ever thought," he said. She smiled faintly. "And you are braver than anyone I have ever known." She replied. The chamber seemed alive with possibility. A hidden past ready to change the future by the time they left the hidden chamber. The desert sky had turned gold with the setting sun. The colony lay ahead. Unaware that the first cracks in centuries-old traditions had begun, Daniel and Leary stepped forward together, knowing that the next steps would be dangerous but confident. That courage, knowledge, and truth could overcome even the oldest laws. And somewhere deep in the colony, the elders began to feel the stirrings of change. Unseen, unstoppable, and just beginning. Asterisk. The colony's council chamber was vast and silent, its high ceilings echoing the whispers of the crowd. Aliens of every age and rank had gathered. Curiosity and tension filling the air. The elders sat at the front, their long faces grim and unyielding. The human, Daniel, stood with Leary beside him, calm but alert. This was the moment when centuries of old tradition would be challenged. The first elder spoke, his voice cold and steady. "You have interfered with sacred law, human," he said. "You have taken what belongs to the colony and broken our rules." Daniel did not flinch. "I did not break the law," he said clearly. "I saved a life." A murmur ran through the crowd. Whispers of shock and disbelief. Many had never seen anyone speak to the elders this way. Leary stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "My name is Leary," she said. "I was buried because they said I was unfit for the colony." Her words echoed through the chamber. "But the truth is, I am alive. I am capable, and I can help." The elders shifted uneasily, their eyes narrowing. One of them hissed, "This human has made you proud to speak against your own people." Leary shook her head. "I am not proud. I am alive. That is all that matters." Daniel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes the truth is stronger than fear," he said, "and today, the truth must be heard." The council called forward a group of young aliens, including Kiro the guard, who had watched Daniel and Leary from the beginning. Kiro stepped forward, his voice steady. "I have seen what they have done," he said. "They repaired the energy cores. They saved the colony from disaster, and they proved that courage and knowledge matter more than blind rules." The chamber fell silent. Even the elders could not ignore the evidence before them. Daniel held up one of the data crystals from the hidden chamber. "This contains the records of your past mistakes," he said. "The genetic issue you used to condemn Leary was never real. It was a scientific error." The elders gasped softly, their hands twitching as if to stop the revelation. "But the evidence is here. Daniel continued. You can see it for yourselves. Leary handed the crystal to the council. Her small hands steady despite the tension. The room erupted in whispers, some filled with fear, others with disbelief. The older aliens argued, the tradition is older than any of us. We cannot change it. The younger aliens spoke over them. This human is right. Leary's life matters. Our customs are not more important than life itself. Voices rose. Debates grew louder. The council chamber shook with the energy of countless opinions. Daniel watched carefully, his eyes calm and steady. This is not a fight, he said. This is a chance to do what is right. Leary nodded beside him. We cannot let mistakes from the past control our future, she said. The younger aliens began to stand together, forming a chorus of support. Even some older members hesitated, seeing the truth and courage in their actions. Finally, the head elder spoke again, his voice quieter now. We must consider this, he said. Perhaps the laws must be questioned. Perhaps they were wrong. Daniel nodded. Yes, the law must serve life, not control it. The chamber fell silent, the crowd waiting for the final word, for the first time in centuries. The colony felt the weight of change, and outside, unseen by the council, the winds of the desert carried a quiet promise that the future would no longer be ruled by fear, that courage, knowledge, and kindness could rewrite even the oldest laws, and that the girl who had once been buried was no longer powerless. She was alive, strong, and ready to shape the destiny of her people. The trial of voices had begun, and the colony would never be the same again. Asterisk.